call meeting to order.
Okay, Mayor Minnie.
Here.
Brenneman.
Here.
Kill.
Here.
Horn.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
And Monahan is absent with notice.
All right, still alive. Do we have any additions to the agenda, or do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, February 20, 2018?
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. And nothing else in there for bills submitted for payment?
No.
Alright, we'll move over to the draft ordinance 650 and then fireworks regulations. And let you give a little bit of background on what you got there, Teresa.
Okay, well, at our last meeting, we had a gentleman here that was interested in selling fireworks within the city. And our current ordinance does not allow that. We only allow the use of them during certain days in July, you know, around the 4th, and then, of course, on New Year's Eve. But otherwise, any other time, we don't allow the use of them or the sale of them. The council listened to them and asked me to put together a proposed ordinance. If we were to allow it, you know, what would have to be drafted for it. We would have to change our current ordinance, of course. So this is not a first reading. It's just a draft for now. I just want your input of how I have it drafted. There's a few things I want the council to discuss about it. If you take a look at the draft ordinance, basically it would eliminate the two sections we have on fireworks right now and just incorporate it all into this one. So the first section is basically just definitions for fireworks. A defines what a firework is, or fireworks are, and I just refer to South Dakota codified law. I took a sample ordinance from Harrisburg because they allow the sale of fireworks, and so I kind of worked off of what they have. Our old ordinance kind of defined, you know, Roman candles and, you know, kind of listed a few. If we just refer to, you know, South Dakota codified law, if that ever changes, this changes with it. We don't have to keep always changing ours, you know. We just permit what the state permits. And then it also defines fireworks sales. And once again, we're just referring back to South Dakota codified law saying you have to meet the state regulations in order to sell fireworks. The next section talks about the licenses required. The first one would say you would need a license with the city, and the state doesn't require that, but in our regulations, section 4.01, we say anything that would need a special permit from the council or whatnot needs to be licensed. So we would have them get a license with the city. Harrisburg must be the same way because they kind of have the very same exact thing. So it says you need a license with the city, which, you know, they'd have to come fill out an application with us and we'd have to grant it to them. B says you need the license from the state, and that is governed by law. So they would have to apply it to the state first. They'd have to show us that they got that state license before we would allow them to sell. And then the next section talks about basically, you know, fireworks says when they can sell, and that just follows state law, the dates that selling is allowed. And that's beginning June 26th through July 5th, and then December 28th through January 1st. And then D basically makes this an annual license. Basically, we're going to run it, since they can sell through January 1st, it run from January 2nd to the next January 2nd. So if somebody gets a license one year, they'd have to come back the very next year and get one. So if we have issues or problems maybe with a seller a year, we could deny them the following year, unless you guys want to change that. But the next section talks about the application process, basically. First one says, you know, they have to, you know, basically fill out an application and submit it to the city. The next section talks about they need insurance, show that they've got liability insurance. C states what kind of fee is attached to it, and that's one of the things the council will have to discuss, of whether we want to charge them a fee and what that amount will be. You know, It's gonna be up to you guys. I didn't plug any number in there. I thought you'd have discussion amongst yourself what that would be. D states, they can't sell within residential neighborhoods, zoned areas, so can't sell from your house unless you guys want to allow that. I thought we might get some complaints within the neighborhood traffic of that, but once again, this is only a draft. You guys can change anything on it that you see fit. And he basically says that makes this process mainly administrative, that they'd come into our office, fill out an application, I'd review it, make sure they have the insurance, you know, that they've got their state license, that they pay their fee and whatnot, and if everything is good to go, we can give them a license. Now, unless you want them to come before the city council, kind of like malt beverage license, if you guys want to see who the applicants are and, you know, approve or disapprove them, that's up to you guys as well. So how I have it written would make it, like I said, just kind of an office thing. If they comply with all our regulations, we grant them a license. Like I said, that could be changed though, it's up to you. Section F basically says that if for some reason I deny them, if we've had issues or if they don't meet our regulations or whatnot, they can appeal, you know, any decision as the zoning administrator makes to the city council. The next section talks about fireworks storage and sales, basically just saying that, you know, what they're selling out of, it's got to at least meet building code, so, and it's got to have access, you know, in and out or whatnot, so it's kind of basic. We took this right from Harrisburg's ordinance. And then the last section talks about the use of fireworks. Since we're rewriting our current one, this section basically mimics what we currently have in ordinance as far as the days and the times they're allowed to shoot fireworks. And I took that right from what we currently have. So that's kind of what I'm proposing. I also included a sample application, you know, what they'd have to fill out, basically, you know, the contact information, and then kind of has a checklist of the different things they need to provide and where we can sign off on it. So basically, I want your thoughts and feelings on that, if this is the way we want to go, or if there's things you want to see changed, or kind of go from there.
What does Harrisburg charge?
They charge $100 for a license.
Okay. And the insurance, is that akin to a umbrella?
Yeah, it'd be like liability insurance, a general liability insurance, yeah. Like a business would have, you know, and this is a business forum, you know, selling.
Third question I would have, I know there's places, when you get down around Sioux City, where there's a lot of fireworks stands, they have what they call bunkers, these old semi-trailers that just set flat on the ground that they use for storage. I don't know if that's a state requirement or if it's a quantity requirement. Because there's a bunch of them. If you go down by those fireworks stands, they all have them. I don't know if it's a quantity deal or...
Probably out of convenience.
Maybe it's convenient so they can lock them.
Yeah, I did print out the state law for fireworks. I didn't see anything that
Okay,
pertained
about
to
that.
that.
It
Yeah,
might
'cause
be
I did print out this section, this 3437
Okay.
of South Dakota codified law, and I didn't see anything there that had any kind of requirement like that.
Well, to expand on your comment a little bit, yeah, I suppose they probably stage them, store them,
Yeah.
and stock them off-site, and then they can have that dropped.
Or they're easy to handle,
premises
right?
easily. What does our city ordinance say about that, those connexes?
About stocking fireworks
Well, about that
specifically, or having a
container.
contain,
Those containers specifically for a short period of time like that.
you know, if as long as it's not on city street or right away, if it's on private property and they have permission for it, you know, we would allow them.
Probably has to be on hard surface, don't it?
I would venture.
I don't know, because, you know, we have, you know, regulations about vehicles
That's
being,
what I was-
can't
that's
be
what I was
on
thinking.
grass. I don't know
Is that what
if
they
we have
have them
anything
for?
about
Yeah.
40-footers.
storage pods.
Yeah.
Storage pods. I can check that, but.
I just know that you see a lot of those,
Well,
especially down there.
Here's reflecting back on some P&Z minutes and thoughts and conversations of an individual who wanted to use one of those for storage unit in his backyard,
Like a comics.
a Connex,
Mm.
you know, had a great drawing of how pretty it was gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
And we shot, you know, we didn't allow that because of its permanent nature.
Mhm.
I think that we'll probably have an issue with, you know, the hard surface bottom, because I remember kicking that, obviously, for a number of years. But it's not in here. But for the sake of, you know, making sure that we're in accordance with someone who wants to park their camper on their, you know, property, it's not allowed unless there's papers, okay? So, I think, that we might have a little pushback if we did have said contain, what do you call it again?
Conics.
Conics.
Conics. If, you know, if they did have a conics, that probably should be on a hard surface. I mean, if it goes hand in hand with our ordinance already in place. Even though it might be for a temporary time, 7-day window, right, I guess, but fireworks are open for 8 days, I think memory serves me.
Do you think that discussion is a planning and zoning discussion as opposed to a permit discussion?
Probably, yeah.
Maybe
I
that's,
kinda wonder if it is.
Yeah. I was just bringing it up because I know that they're in conjunction with fireworks stands. That's
In the
where,
wrong place.
yes.
Yep,
Right.
yep, I gotcha.
The question I got then, fireworks storage and sales, item B. Shall be restricted structures that are no closer than 50 feet from any other structure used for agriculture, commercial, industrial, or residential use. So, as an example, if I wanna sell fireworks out of my back shop down here downtown, I couldn't do that because I'm within 50 feet of other businesses.
Yeah,
That would include, yeah, side structure, that'd be within 50 feet.
I think so, then, yeah.
So,
Why 50 feet?
And like I said, I took that straight from
Yeah,
Harrisburg.
From Harrisburg.
I mean, we could change that
Yeah.
if need be.
good, but I think it's probably for.
Probably
I
safer.
think probably for foot,
Insurance.
I guess,
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it
I know,
blows
like-
up, yeah, you're right, yeah, absolutely.
I know just like our accessory structures, fire code, you gotta at least be 10 feet from buildings, and
Yeah.
that's nothing combustible, or, you know, something like this, so.
I just wanted to clarify, that's the way I read it, but I wanted
Yep.
to clarify.
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
I like the piece in there that, I like it that you got this one from Harrisburg, cause I like the permit from the city. I like the option to charge a fee, I don't think we need to have it be outrageous or anything like that, $100, you know, seems reasonable. After they've gotten their state permit, after they've gotten their insurance, they come in, then we know, and we're basically stamping it, saying, yep, we're okay with this, we're okay with this. I think it also helps with the discussion last time was, gosh, we don't want 15 of these lined up on the edge of town.
Right.
If I, you had mentioned in one other section there, Teresa, that, you know, should it be administrative or should it be council? My opinion on that is, I think it should be administrative, but, I'm curious to see what the rest of the council
I
thinks about
agree.
that. I don't know that we need to see every application before it comes in.
And if we think there's too many applicants in the future, we can always address that then.
Right.
If we see it as a problem, we can do something.
Can we kick it over to P and Z and have them review it?
Yep.
Last question I got though is on insurance. I think the insurance needs to be specific to the place that they're selling it. In other words.
Like the business name that they're selling under, is that what you're saying? or-
No, I'm saying, yeah. Like I wouldn't wanna sell fireworks under Allegiance umbrella. I think they should have their own separate policy specific for their fire stand.
Basically,
So if you got
whatever
XYZ,
entity they're,
XYZ company owns a business that does not do business on a day-to-day basis of fireworks, let's say, and decides I wanna sell fireworks as a part-time gig, then I think you need to have insurance for selling fireworks for your business, because knowing insurance, you're based on what you do for a profession or a job. And if I'm a consultant and I carry $1 million liability insurance, that ain't much, but if I go sell fireworks, which could be a higher hazard and higher risk, I think the coverage needs to be specific for what they're doing.
I see what you mean, you don't want to roll in and saying, yeah, I got that covered under my other business
Right.
umbrella.
Right.
And theoretically, they didn't talk to their insurance agent about it, they just
Right.
didn't assume.
They need to be
Right.
rated for
That makes sense.
the exposure. They need to be rated for that particular exposure of
Well, that's-
fireworks.
Kinda like having your golf cart insured
Yeah.
versus having it under your house umbrella.
Is there, and maybe you could look, does the state require insurance as well before they get that state piece?
I believe they do.
Because if they're specific to that, we could either just copy their verbiage or rely on that, on their piece of it.
But if they have to prove insurability to the state, they can bring that document in and that
Yep,
would
they can
carry
bring that in.
insurability to us.
Worry about it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And that's why I asked the question of a personal umbrella, because that's what I would say. Somebody's gonna come waltzing in and say, yeah, I have a $1 million personal
Yeah.
umbrella, but have they made that phone call
Right.
and say to their insurance
Because if
guy, oh,
something
by the way,
happens-
I'm gonna sell fireworks under my $1 million personal
Right.
umbrella?
And if they don't have that on their policy, the insurance company.
Probably gonna deny it.
Right. Right, just like when, we do golf cart permits, they have to have a copy
Right.
of their vehicle insurance,
Right.
and we've gotta see that it's insured under that,
Right.
that it's specific to that, so, yep, that makes sense.
Yes.
Do we need a motion to kick that or no?
I got a couple more questions, so license fee, do we wanna charge a fee, and what amount before I'm drafting?
Go with $100.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay,
I think we kind of addressed it as I read through this and think about it more. All structures used for the storage and or sale of fireworks shall comply with the city's current building code and shall have adequate means of egress before commencement of and during said storage or sales. I'm curious if there's a structure in town that would apply, that you could sell this, you know, as we look at the businesses around that potentially will be selling this. Like this,
Is there?
I don't think the storage container is gonna fly in Hartford because it doesn't comply with our current building code. And if that storage container doesn't comply, do we need a special provision for this specifically and for a time of the year specifically?
so maybe something needs to be written in the ordinance to, like you said, specify just
Because
a
as I-
temporary structure for this specifically, yeah.
As I think of structures around town and businesses that would be selling this,
It's gonna be a tent. Chances are it's gonna be a tent.
Could be, yeah.
Can we have P and Z look at that verbiage? Would they maybe know a little bit better than us, or?
we don't have the representative who's pushing this tonight either, so.
Well, I can tell you that,
I have no idea. What do you-
Justin, does use a, what do you call it again?
Sonics.
Connex over in Humboldt,
Right.
So, I'm
And that
guessing
means
that
state
that'll be his
requirements.
plan
Right.
I know
to,
what Humboldt's story is.
And in actuality, if we got somebody storing that kind of fireworks, I'd rather have them in one of those.
Well, absolutely, that's why I think,
I'd rather have them in one of those than in a tent.
yeah, it's not flammable, there's, you know,
First thing I did.
Exactly. That's why I asked, because that's what, I think that's a safety issue in my book.
I think maybe two things, being we're looking at Harrisburg's, can we go back to Harrisburg and say, and ask them, do they have something special in their P and Z that allows for this on a special basis? I mean, I can't imagine they want these planted all over town all year long for every business. And then we probably wanna bring those by P and Z to have them review it too.
Okay.
Before we even get to our first reading.
Yeah, I can check with Harrisburg, kind of, incorporate the items we discussed, have P and Z look at it next week, and before I bring it back before you guys at our next meeting.
Yep.
That work?
Anything else you have questions on, Teresa?
No, I think that was it, you kind of answered. If you're good with it being administrative, we got the fee amount. P&Z line. I think that answers what I need to know.
Good.
So, okay. then we'll put it back.
Alright, we move to reports. First one is the Chamber and Economic Development Director report, Jesse.
Good evening. We had a busy month in February. For the chamber, we had several events. We had a membership benefit luncheon we held at Blue 42, our first annual District 9 legislative coffee, also at Blue 42. We helped Central States Manufacturing celebrate their 5-year anniversary. We would put together welcome bags. We had added one member, Brad Hanish, the Mayor of Star Real Estate, as a gold member, and we lost one member. Medicare Pharmacy dropped their membership. HADC, we submitted information for Project Superior, a food products manufacturer looking for 10 to 20 acres of land for a 88,000 square foot facility. We worked on a brewery project that is moving forward. We worked on the RFP for the HADC's daycare RFP, which we received 3 submissions for. We'll be reviewing in more detail on Friday. There's been some interest in multifamily facilities in Hartford. Excuse me. Our HADC will hold this planning retreat on March 9th. Would enjoy some city council presentation. If any of you have time to stop on by, we'll be at the Costello Community Room starting at 8 a.m. and it should go until probably around 2:30. So we'll have breakfast and lunch there as well. And we're supposed to have a seminar yesterday focusing on cybersecurity for the chamber, but today, with the weather, the presenter didn't want to risk having low attendance, so we'll be moving that probably to later March. Any questions for me?
I'll be at the retreat on Friday, and I was just gonna let the council know if any of you are gonna be there. It might not hurt to make sure we let Teresa know if we need to call a special meeting for that, unless you're already planning on it.
I
Maybe
can
it's a
do
bad idea, but
anything as well.
if,
I won't be able to be there all day, but I'll definitely stop in.
Yeah.
I am out of town, I cannot be there.
Can you attach that, so we kind of skipped over it, worked on several ideas for economic development.
Yes.
Gave us a paper copy last month.
Yeah.
Last meeting.
Yep.
Can you attach that to your minutes, or your notes, your report?
I can email it to you.
Well, I don't want an email, I want it to constantly be in my face, every time I
Okay.
sit down
Yep.
at a council meeting.
That's one thing I was going to add to here. I'm going to be putting together a proposal for you for what an economic development department might look like for here in City Hall, along with a updated job description to go along with that for your consideration over the next few weeks. So.
okay. Alright. Anything else?
I was out of town, Jesse, our brewer guys, are they happy, how are we doing?
I don't know if they're happy, but I'm happy.
No, I didn't ask if you're happy,
Yeah.
are they happy?
They're happy. We met, this happened in March, we met on Thursday night, and we had a conversation with them. They brought some of their beer to talk about, and I was impressed with their beer. And I'm not an expert by any means, but I thought exactly what we're looking for, so. We have an agreement that's being drafted up by our attorney right now that they'll review, and then best case scenario, they're opening in September. I think they'd love to be open in late August, but I think September might be more realistic with the permitting process and the back order on the equipment, which is about 22 to 24 weeks. And then, it's gonna be good for downtown. I think it's the first step we're gonna see as a revitalization in our downtown. I really do think that. There's some interesting scholarly articles out there that show a correlation between the introduction of breweries into downtowns and business growth around them. And so it brings traffic, brings people, rejuvenates the area, and best of all, it gives you a place to go after 5 o'clock on a weeknight. So. But excuse me, I'm a little hoarse today, but yeah, all things we're looking good on that. They just need to get their permit with the state and with the ATF. I think the ATF permit is very I think it's a detailed process, there's a lot of details that go into that permit. But, again, that looks to be on track.
Okay. Good.
That's good. Alright, any other questions for Jesse? Okay, alright, thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. And we got a couple items on there with, our city engineer report,
Yeah.
Mitch.
I figured we'd start with the Nicholson Road update, but our plans are done. We are sending them off to the DNR here for them to do a quick review. But we're wanting to ask tonight for a motion to advertise them. And, right now we're taking the first advertisement to be the 26th of March, and the 29th of March, the bid opening date of April 6th.
That saves a lot of questions for later.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, when you and I talked earlier, that you were looking at a couple things to speed some of that up.
Yeah, what we did, we shaved off a couple of weeks from the DNR's review. Usually we give them a month to get us comments back and make changes to the plans. We're gonna give them 2 weeks, and hopefully we get those comments back within 2 weeks. If we get them a little later, we might end up having to do an addendum to the plans, which we don't anticipate any big changes from them. So if we have some changes that we gotta make, we'll make those by addendum while it's being advertised. And then beyond that, we just put a lot of effort in the office to speed it up. From here, what we'll do is we also have a Clomar that we'll be putting together an application. We talked to Teresa about that. So that we're wrapping that up this week, and we'll be sending that to her to send that into FEMA. That's a application to fill in the floodway. So that's one condition in these documents that the contractor have to be aware of, is that right now we have a completion date on the majority of the project of the end of October, with the exception of the area in the floodway, which is the box culvert and filling that area, because we can't fill that area in until we have an approved floodplain permit from FEMA with this Colmar. And that can be, 4 to 5 months sometimes to get those back. But we do have a condition in here that the contractor can't start that work until that permit is obtained. So that work, we have a completion date of June of 2019 in the contract.
And does that get us under our date with
Yeah.
Sam Ansel?
Yep, that's July, is that date?
Just,
Yeah, that's July.
Yep.
And I did talk to Mitch about, we can still do utilities, so we can get the sewer and the water
Right.
in and get jardins and what going, because we can put utilities without the Clomar, we just can't do the box culverts. So basically it'd just be the box culverts in the street that.
so would you pave Mitch down to that point, or you want to
Yeah.
do that all at once, or?
We have all the paving up to that point in the 2018 deadline.
Okay,
So the only thing that'll be the 19 deadline is the area within that floodway, which is maybe 50 feet west and east, both directions of that
Okay.
box culvert and
Okay.
the box culvert itself.
and then to the road, or was that figured in phase one, the paving up to Highway 38? Or is
That's in the phase one also.
that's in phase one also?
Yeah, or this year's deadline, yes.
So do we need to review these, or what's the,
Well, this set is for Craig. I mean, staff will review them, Teresa and Craig. You guys can sure take a look at them and review them.
well, what do you need from us, a motion to?
Just a motion to advertise, take it to bid, to advertise it.
How long is that, how long will those
I
box
couldn't make
culverts
that
be?
motion.
Say again, how long is that?
Sorry.
How long are those box culverts?
How long
Yeah,
are
how
they,
long
like,
will they be, do you think?
to construct, or like the actual length?
Finish wise, so you'll have 50 feet each side, and then how long will the box culvert be?
I mean, the box culvert construction will probably, first they have to, it takes probably 3 or 4 months just to fabricate the boxes, to leave them out there. But once they have them out there, I would expect it'll probably be 2 months or so that it'll take them to get that in place, and they've gotta build a big head wall on the end of it, that's all cast in place out there.
Gotcha, but length as far as feet, how far?
I think they're about 100, 120 feet.
Okay, gotcha, so.
How many did you end up with?
It's a dual box system. So we put in, we've got a 16 by 10 foot box on one side, and then we did a 8 foot, no, I'm sorry, 16 by 10 foot, and then a 14 by 10 foot. And we elevated that 14 foot one so that we could possibly use that for an underpass for a bike trail someday. So that was one thing that we designed into it to try to think for the future there a little bit.
More discussion?
I'm ready.
Call it, this is your baby, buddy.
I'll make a motion that we allow, we move forward with Stockwell with the plans to advertise for bid for the Mickelson Road project.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, discussion? Alright, hearing none. Nelson,
Yes.
Horn,
Yeah.
Keel,
Yes.
Berman,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes.
Alright.
Thanks, Mitch, for moving it up as fast as you can. Let's get this baby bid.
I thought about shaving another week off just so I could say we had a March date, but it's cutting too close.
And it's still, and the DNR, it could take longer than 2 weeks.
It could, but I do expect the comments to be.
Yeah, don't hold his feet to the fire on that one, okay?
Oh,
You see those.
I'm not letting off now, you know that.
You see those amendments all the time.
We are not taking our foot off the gas right now.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Alright, next up you got, well, is that what you're gonna cover next, full quantities on?
I was actually, maybe I'll go through the rest of the report.
Good.
Is the Vandermark proposal on
Yeah.
there? Maybe we can go to that quick.
Sure.
We have a proposal here from us we're treating it as an amendment to our current contract. And so that is to bring the sewer onto our current contract and design and do construction documents of that part of the work. The proposal has language there for final design, construction documents, bidding services, and construction administration for that work.
Make a motion to approve the amendment to the contract for the Vanmark sewer project.
Second. Okay, motion and second. Discussion?
What are we looking at for a time frame? I don't recall. Are we gonna get that done this summer?
Yeah, I think we can sure have that ready to bid this summer. We needed about 2 months, I think you said, to get the plans ready.
Okay.
We don't have any special funding agencies with it, so we can
Right.
move it along a little quicker.
We have the money, right? Teresa, did I see that in your notes? We have the money?
Yeah, we take it out of our sewer fund.
I think the only thing that I would say right now is just, have we had any updated conversations on the right of way or?
No.
Because we'd be ready to move right into the construction documents, and we would need to know now whether we're gonna go down the middle or off to the side, so we don't have to make that revision, so. I mean,
Yeah, I've tried to get a hold of Elsa, and they hasn't called me back.
How go?
You mean-
Get a hold of the
Or
wrong
Hot,
guy.
yeah. Which one are we on, Mickelson? Sorry. Yeah,
So what are the options
go down the middle or go off to the side where we have the current right of way.
and the advantages and disadvantages?
Going down the center would that's typically where you put your sanitary sewer on these corridors, is right down the middle of the road, because you have your water main to one side and maybe your storm sewer to the other side. If we go down put it offset, then we would tend to probably when we actually come to build the street someday, we're probably gonna have some storm sewer that we can run up there. And that would end up probably going where the sewer normally would go. Doesn't really create a real big issue in my mind. I don't think you have any issues with doing that. But ideally, we'd put it down the center like in most corridors.
Ideally, we put it down the center and the next thing we do is pave that road.
Right.
Is like the ideal
Yeah.
progression.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just-
well, right now,
Better roll it up on paving that road. We got one to get done first.
right now, we know what we have, and we don't have the easement in place, and I think that, you know, we move forward knowing what we already have, and if we need to make adjustments after we get the easement, then we deal with that as it comes. I think we're gonna get it,
I
I
think
just
we
think
should
it's gonna
move
take a
forward.
little time.
Yeah. And that's, I think what we're gonna be focused on in the office is getting the Swenson Park Sports Complex plans ready, for the next week or two. So, I mean, once we get through that, then we'll probably be looking to go to this Vandenberg project.
Hopefully we'll know by then.
How much additional expense does it add to have two designs? One down the middle, one offset?
Actually do 2 construction documents. It'd probably double that. It probably wouldn't double it, I guess, but we have it broke out there as far as what our design fees are.
Another $8,500.
Yeah.
I think we can probably in this couple weeks.
Yeah, I think we
get
just
something
try
to
to
review.
get, yeah.
The general fund monitor speaking.
I think give Teresa a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You've got a couple weeks before we can really get to it.
We have to know.
I think in a couple more weeks, he'll go a month, he should be up to speed by then, he should be meet with me by then, I would think.
Okay. Alright, well, we got a motion and a second on the amendment, to add this piece to it. Any other discussion on it? Alright, on the vote. Carter?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Horn?
Yeah.
And Nelson.
Yes.
I'll let you keep moving along.
Yeah, just to get through the rest of it, Swenson Park, we touched on that, we're gonna be working on getting the construction documents done this week and next week, so that we can get those plans, so we'll give it to Craig again to review, and we talked about getting to the sports complex committee also to review. And then we'll turn around and, be wanting to advertise that project as well. Mike Fucking Trail is waiting for, spring thaw. Force account work, the mayor just signed the slurry seal project contract, so we'll get those back to the contractor, get them distributed. We're working on city maps. We have the Naps Landing preliminary plan on the agenda tonight. We've been helping review that. And then we've been working on the South Street topo and grading plan, and that's on the agenda. We went out there, did our survey, put together some preliminary elevations, and we figured we need about 3,200 cubic yards of dirt in there. That's probably, if you're talking side dumps, probably just 100 plus side dumps, probably 150 or so is what we're estimating. So actually, I was pretty surprised by how much dirt needs to go in there, but we generally need about 3 feet of fill across most of that ground to get it out of floodplain.
100 side dumps, you said?
I mean, did not need any, I call it rip wrap or anything like that?
No. And talking to Craig, I mean, I don't know what your guys' intention, if you slowly fill this area, if you allow people to place dirt there, that sounds like maybe that's the intention. I would tend to probably, as you start filling it, make sure you get a silt fence up on the back side of that,
Yeah.
so that can so you're keeping the soil from getting into that creek bottom, and also you can kind of define where the fill limit is, so you don't end up filling in the floodway where you're not supposed to.
So cost estimate on just fill alone?
So if we had it for like one of our projects, we would tend to budget probably $10 to $15 in a cubic yard as a borrow. So that's between $30,000 and $40,000 probably what we would estimate if it was one of our projects and contractors that we're used to. But I'm not quite in tune with what some of the what you can get locally here for smaller borrows like that, I guess.
Sure.
And that'd be
Mitch,
all the
or
city law.
Mitch, Craig, Jesse, any any leads on that or thoughts on that at all? I know we talked about it last meeting a little bit.
I'd say if we decide to move ahead at that, we just have Mitch or Stockles go out there and stake it and let us know what we got for elevations, what our boundaries are. Then when we do get dirt available, we just go ahead and push it out there and level it off right away and keep driving over it and keep packing it and just keep going ahead with it.
Back you up on that, Luke, last time when dirt is available, sometimes we're given dirt.
Once in a while, I'll get a contractor that's digging out a basement or something like that,
Yeah.
and they don't want the dirt, they have
Right.
a place to put it, so they'll sometimes contact us, sometimes they'll find somebody too, but
Okay.
it happens often.
Yeah, get on your soapbox on that one
Then I'm jumping over to Jesse. Jesse, you guys are reviewing R5s Friday, correct?
So, I mean, we would like to move forward with this year. And then after you take a guess, I would probably require the HADC to be the contractor, leasing it out, or not the contractor, the owner of the building, leasing it out to the party that we do with the daycare. If I have to guess how it would go.
You're guessing right now, that's what you think it would look like?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we would like, I mean, I can speak for the whole board, but I think we would like to move forward this year on that, if possible.
Okay.
Because the whole process is fairly lengthy as far as the inspections go with the state and different departments, and it's time consuming.
Okay, so that 30 to 40,000 doesn't include everything else, all the packing, everything else that's included with that.
Right.
It's just the dirt,
Right.
isn't it? Okay.
No seed,
What?
so we are planning on seeding that, do you think?
Once you're done, I would assume you'd seed that.
Yeah, I mean, just
I mean-
keep erosion down.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but-
Yeah, you'd have to skip, it depends on if they have something going in right away, then they'd be always taking care of that.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd want them to strip the area too, strip the topsoil off so you can put the topsoil back on top. So you don't have that layer of organic material in there either that you're building on. I think you could probably still do all that for that 30 to 40,000.
Well, I think it'd be premature for us to go out there and say, let's go secure some dirt and start moving until they get through their applications on Friday. But I think for all of us, by our next meeting, we could be having that very discussion, just depending on how that's moving along.
And just maybe so you understand the process a little bit too, when you're just filling the site, you're not necessarily doing what you call the Walmart to get out of the floodplain. You're just getting the site ready because once someone builds on the site, that person will have to go and get a Walmart and get an elevation certificate showing that structure is out of the floodplain, which is to me is a small part of developing that ground. It's something that they'll have to go through when
They'll have to
purchase
do
it.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. All right. Anything else?
No.
Okay, question? All right, thank you. All right, great, we got the Public Works report.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kinda jump through some of this here. We've already discussed Slurry Seal. Mitch did a little bit about that's moving ahead. Magwater we'll be talking about here in just a little bit. Culverts on Western, I did get a contact, Mike from the county did contact me, and they are aware of the situation with that water running through there, and they're keeping an eye on it, so we'll kinda watch it with them too, but make sure we don't have any flooding down there. Sewer, we do have all 3 pumps up and running right now. When the new volute gets in, we'll be flipping that out right away and getting it taken, so it'll be basically brand new pump again, rebuilt anyway, so. But for right now, they're all working fine and they're pumping well, so. Dog waste containers, still haven't heard anything back from the county. I'll send Shannon an email again and see if he's got any information yet on that. If not, we'll get all the Girl Scouts to find another spot for that one. Sports complex, we did have a meeting here last week. Just kind of, figure out what they are hoping to get with their 15,000 and what they want for electrical and that stuff. And I think what they are hoping to get is very doable. I'm gonna throw some numbers together actually tomorrow. I'm getting some quotes and that to figure it out for them. Then we're gonna sit down with them again and tell them what we can get, how far we can get with everything that they wanna do. So we'll be meeting with them probably a week or so, on Monday. Yep, Monday. Other things, just DOT will be having a meeting with them again on that I-90 interchange and that. They're gonna get ready to pick a consultant team for moving ahead with that. Then after that, it's a lot of data that they'll be collecting over the next few years and before they get moving ahead with it. On my, list of stuff for decisions wise, South Dakota Municipal League is annual trainings April 23rd and 24th. It's in Mitchell. I'd like to have Jesse and myself attend. Jesse and Neil rotate between the street one and then also the water and wastewater conference. So.
Make a motion to approve, Jesse O. and Craig to attend the South Dakota Municipal Street Maintenance Association meeting in Mitchell, April 23, 24.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I put together a price, what we are, for the, if we decide to put a second application on, railroad this fall with the construction going on in Mickelson. I figured out, I got an actual quote from, Bumblebee Gibson, we'll be discussing that later, later. But if we decide to add, another shooting on, railroad, we're looking at about 4,300 gallons, 4,400 gallons. So it's gonna be roughly about 6,000, a little over 6,000 to put another application on that this fall, so that's something you guys will have to decide if you wanna do or not. The number, budget time, I had $1.48. I had $1.48 figured for budget, and I didn't figure very much for gravel, because I didn't know, figure with Mixon Road getting tore up and some other stuff, happy we wouldn't need a lot of gravel this year, but we only budgeted $2,200 between gravel and mag water, so we are going to be over budget.
Brian, go ahead, I'm sorry,
You good, no?
I just took the gravel out of the whole figure for the council,
Oh,
so.
okay. Well,
This is what they have
Oh,
in the
that's-
packet.
this is why I'm always wrong with numbers.
The budget item has gravel and mag water together, the line item, I just took the gravel amount out of it, so we're just talking about mag water, and that's what's in your
So
packet.
we're gonna be over $5,200, roughly about $5,300, if we go ahead and put a second, layer on railroad this year, so.
Okay.
Well, I'll expand on this. I'll get real formal about it. Tell him to take the podium like the old days. Okay. As you all know, this is kind of something that I've always talked about. These folks always know about it. And if Monahan is here, you go and knowing that again. But the main reason that I put this on, you may remember from the last meeting, is the fact that Mickelson Road pretty predominantly will be under construction or closed, which obviously, as per Mitch, and if you still concur, will deviate a lot of traffic on railroad. Okay. So there are, in my opinion, well, Arden touched on it last year, I touched on it. There's a lot of people that are affected by this, but there's 5 primary people that are affected by this that live right adjacent to or right along the railroad. I spoke with all 5 landowners, and I would like to read one from Brad Kramer, and then I'm going to ask 2 other landowners to take the podium. This was given to me this morning. I give Scott Nelson permission to read this for the record. My family moved into the house on the corner of Van Mark and Kelly, so if you know where that's at, in July of 2015. Railroad Street is directly behind us and runs the length of our backyard. In the summertime, things dry out, the winds blow, the dust from Railroad Street goes across our yard into our house. If the wind is blowing out of the south, in any way, shape, or form, a large amount of, or any kind of traffic we can't open our windows because of the dust will all blow in. This past summer, we had a trampoline in our backyard for our kids a couple times during breezy days. They have had to come off the trampoline because it was too dusty and we thought it was too dangerous. I commend our city for the MAG application that they've done so far. With Mickelson, the work set begin. Railroad Street will have added traffic, thus creating bigger issues for all homeowners along Railroad Street. I ask to consider additional application in the future for dust control. That once again was from Brad and Kim Kramer at 114 South Kelly Avenue. I will now ask Bev Skyberg Taylor and Tom Mortland to take the podium in any particular order.
Well, I've been here before over this issue, and I believe I sent a letter last year that somewhat addressed this problem. My name is Bev Skyberg Taylor. I do reside at 111 South Vandermark, which is the corner of Vandermark and Railroad, which is across the street from Kramer's. I have been there for 18 years. The first few years I lived there, that road did not go all the way through. I didn't have near the problems I did as soon as they opened that road up. I understand why they opened it up, good with that, but when they opened it up, they needed to maintain and make sure it was maintained for the homeowners that do back that road. My house actually faces that road. I have the same problem as the Kramers. I don't ever open the windows on the front of the house. In fact, I don't even open them on the back because the dust rolls over the roof of my house. I could dust the house, and a day later, there is a coating inside the house. And it's a new house, it's not leaking. Other problems, there is attached to my other building along Railroad, what used to be a screen porch, which I used to enjoy sitting out there in the evenings. Not a lot of traffic. That road went through, haven't used it since, for the last 12 years. Store the odd thing in there, because you can't sit out there and not be covered in dust in a very short period of time. Other issues, you try driving or riding or a lawnmower, and a car goes by at 40 miles an hour, you can't even see where you're pushing the lawnmower. It's hard to function out there. Anyway, I guess over the last few years, it's been quite an argument. They put the first mag water on, and then it seems like I wait, and we go through July, and finally we get around to it. It might be August, late August, and if I'm lucky, they get a second application. Last year, I was quite upset when they finally did do it, and I've always been told you gotta have it 3 days before rain. They put it on in the afternoon, and at 6 o'clock at night, I stood in my front door and watched it all going down the ditch, because it poured rain. It was a large rain shower that was supposed to happen for 2 days, but they still did the mag water anyway. So most of it went down to the creek, useless, in a very short period of time. That was a waste of money. With the extra construction that's gonna happen on Nicholson, you need to do that road 3 times. Figure out where to find the money, but it's gotta happen. You affect the people that live on that road. You affect our way of life. That's all I got to say about it.
Before we have you hop on up, I just wanna ask the council something quick a minute. Is there anybody opposed to this second piece, or want to hear more information before we move forward?
I got one question.
Yeah.
Was the figures you gave, Craig, is that for doing the entire railroad?
From Fighter all the way up to 38, yes. So if you want to shorten that.
That's what I was wondering, could we shorten it to save some costs?
I thought it was to the bus barn. Okay.
Yeah, you could shorten it up, because I was figuring from, let me see, from Fighter 38, just figured, yeah, it's 4,300, so, I mean, that's gallons, so length is 3,500 feet, so I mean, yeah, if you went just a couple thousand feet, you can knock the price on too. And that's something that, like I said, last meeting, we could see how it's acting up in the fall, stuff like that, and if the traffic got bumped up or what. And
you normally do one application?
just one application,
And when you normally try to do that?
It's usually the end of May, end of May, first part of June, so we try to
And
shoot
would we
for.
still do Vandy Mark if we?
I was just trying to throw some of that together. A lot of it's gonna depend on when Vandermark gets tore up. If it gets tore up, if it's gonna be scheduled for the fall, then we'd definitely do this, right away in the summer. If it's gonna be, we think early summer, then we'd probably hold back and do an application after it gets put in. So we just kinda wait and see how that, what's gonna invest that. If not, My numbers are right, I just quick threw them together, it's about $3,200 for Vandermark.
So, and but the 5,000
That would be doing railroad
all the
from
way.
all the way, yeah.
All the
And
way.
we wouldn't need to do it all the way, we could do a short portion of it
So
too.
if we
So.
spent that 5,000,
Well,
technically we could.
I don't know, cause then the folks in Kelly will complain when there's a north wind in the Kelly Point edition. If the road's gonna be
That's a
that
long-
busy.
I know, that's a long way for that dust bowl, I know it blows, but, I mean, these folks are, it's right in the yard.
No, I get that, but I'm just wondering, I'm just
Prevailing wind
being
is
devil's
south.
advocate.
Yeah.
It's right on top of us.
I really,
The prevailing wind is south.
Most of the time, it's coming from the south, blowing over the house.
In Hartford, South Dakota.
I would agree with that, Travis.
Really?
We get more south wind where we live too, because we get all the dust off Nicholson all the time. I would agree with,
I thought it was west. But it's from
yeah, I would
west.
agree.
I live east of Vandermark and the dust always goes to my house.
Well, if you live on a gravel road, it always blows on your house. Right, Travis? If you live on a gravel road, you always get dust,
Yeah.
just saying.
I think
East,
it's
west,
just their.
north.
Doesn't matter.
Not from the north, but if it's east, west, or south, it's coming over the house.
It is, yeah.
It's burying us.
So, can I ask one question before you start? Is that
No,
all right?
I-
Can I ask one more question? So, back to what, I wanna expand a little bit on what Mark's saying, because I was thinking the same thing. I wonder if we would be better off shortening how far we go down that road and maybe doing it 3 times.
That's kind of what I was wondering.
Because, Mitch, you're right, I think you're gonna agree. There's gonna be more traffic on that road. Because those people up in our area that are typically jumping on Mickelson to get out of town are gonna have to go somewhere.
Yep.
How much, is there a mobilization fee with Bumblebee?
No, they'll just come out and shoot it. Prices.
No mobilization fee?
It's right in the numbers, so.
All right, that's cool.
It's 1,000 feet from Eastern to the bus barn.
That's what it is.
Don't forget about football, guys. Enough you
That
guys,
started in August.
there's enough you guys been to football games and it's bad.
And the soccer fields are there, and the walking path to put in.
That's something.
I don't know.
And Tom is the
Putting
last
outlets.
person on Kelly, so Tom, go ahead and jump in here.
when we gotta know by?
I mean, I could just, he'll hold product for me, because we've been a very good customer with him and everything for the years, so I mean, I could tell him to hold some back and tell him that, you know, he'll get rid of it, I'm sure, if we don't take it, so. I know they're getting, he mentioned the other day that, when I was talking to him, that it's getting harder to come across, so. Cause this comes out of Canada, this product does.
And this would come out of the street fund if we did additional work.
Have to come out of the general street.
I have a question. What's the difference between mag water and, is it magnesium chloride?
This is what we're actually putting down is 80-20 lig. It's tree sap in it with magnesium. When we first did railroad going out, that was a brand new gravel road. Gravel was all the same from the same pit, so we had a really nice comparable strip to do it on. And I tried 5 different products on that road to see what was holding up the best. So we did like 150, 200 yard strips of the different products over the, and there was another product out there that was probably all lasted by a couple of weeks, but it was about double the price. So for the dollar, this was way better than your magnesium or your chloride. So this is better than those 2 products.
Okay. Well, my husband has a lake home, it's out in Brookings on Lake Hendrick, and they use magnesium chloride.
Yeah, it
And he
won't
doesn't
last
have
long.
near the trouble that,
Oh, on this heavy road, it'll never
but
last
it
long.
might be the gravel content you're saying.
Yeah, and gravel has a lot to do with it, but your volume of traffic is a lot slower and a lot less than what you are on railroads, so.
Well, that's true. He doesn't have grain trucks and
No.
buses and
No.
things like that on it.
Alright, we'll keep,
Tom Mortland will be brief. I live at 110 South Kelly, a couple houses down from you. I have neighbors on both sides of me that are not here tonight. One of them, up until a year ago, they were gonna move. They made that clear to Scott too because of the dust problem. I moved into the house 8 years ago. I love the house, I love the town. Had I known what the dust was gonna be like, I wouldn't have bought that house. And you, I can't imagine. I've driven by your house, I've never met you until tonight, and I said, I cannot imagine the person that lived in that house. It does get a lot of traffic, a lot more than you think. A lot of, people taking their brush and stuff down to the bush dumper, whatever you guys call it. A lot of kids going by. Speed's a major concern to me, but that's not the issue tonight. And it's not just our houses. Like she talks about it rolling over the houses, that's not an everyday occurrence, but it happens. And I've seen the dust cloud go down as far as Scott's house, which is right across from the park. And a few years ago, you guys did put the second coat on, and that made a world of difference. So, I mean,
To clarify that, we never have,
there was one year I thought,
There was 1 year that we had it budgeted,
I don't think
and
we've
it
ever had it
got, it get
budgeted.
shot down.
We've never done a second application on any of our gravel roads.
Okay.
but,
Just
maybe
arrange that.
three coats is wishful thinking, but that second one, I think, would really help a lot, especially like, we all know there's gonna be a lot more traffic coming down that road, so. And, we really appreciate it, people living there, you guys just give us that second coat. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
What are the stipulations as far as when you need to put that down, and is it weather related, or what's?
If it's too dry, we have to water the roads, so it soaks in. And I was a little concerned with that rain, but it did not affect them. There was very little runoff with any of it. This stuff actually, once it gets in, gets packed, it sets. Actually, some rain after it gets in, sets them up better, it drives the stuff down. So they do have to be damp in order for to put this out. If you put it on a dry road, you'll have a disaster with it.
I'm just curious as if we say, okay, yeah, there is we're gonna do a second and a third, or possibly a third. If we do say that, are they gonna get are we gonna be able to get to them on a specific time and date?
I'm pretty sure if we let him know a couple weeks in advance, he'd be able to schedule it in. It's only a day job to do all of our gravel roads, it's one day. It
Gotcha.
takes us longer to get them bladed up and shaped up, but once you put this on, you usually don't have to blade your, let's put it this way, you'll end up having to touch them up, but it's usually in the fall, because they'll start getting a few potholes. If you'd blade this like halfway through the year just to shape the roads up, you'd lose your product. That's when you start getting dust. So if you can avoid blading the roads as long as you can, they'll hold that product that much longer. So like in the fall, if we would look at doing something, we'd probably try to do it without shaping the roads, that way you just get that much more product in there without having a dry spot. Because once you get a dry spot, that's when you get the pothole and everything else going in with it, so that's,
Okay.
Okay.
I want to expand, like I said, our general fund right now with all the things we got going on, obviously it's a concern. It's a concern for me, it should be a concern for everyone in this room. So I'm gonna pose the question to everyone here. Terry mentioned that football, an issue. Travis, any of you guys, can you expand on if, what I'm thinking here is either A, take it from fighter to roughly the bus barn and do 3 apps, or doing 2 and taking it all the way to 38. I guess I'm a little, not sure, but is the, I guess the question to you, the football stadium and that soccer field and so on and so forth, have we ever received any complaints off of Mickelson from the dust in the fall before winter hits?
as far as the football fields, no, but now you do have the bike trail right alongside it, so you might get some complaints there.
Good point. Yeah, about that.
Because that'll be the first year we've had the trail there.
Yeah.
I would say if you're thinking about doing this, just kind of throw a number out there, and if we use it, we use it, if we don't, we don't. And play it by ear, see what the gravel roads are doing. If you get a nice little bit of moisture once in a while, because this stuff attracts moisture is what it does, and that's what holds the dust in. So if you'd have a decent year, you could probably get by with 2 applications without any problem. Remember, we've only did 1 in the past on all these roads. We've never done a second application on any of them.
Okay.
So the second application is gonna do a lot of good, because you probably wouldn't do a second application until about middle of August, because that's when it starts to dry up and things start to, you know, that's when you start to see, you can see when they're driving down the road, you'll see the dust starting to rise behind the tires. Doesn't drift yet, but it's starting to come up. So, I mean, I'd wait and just see how the roads are looking and make a decision at that point whether you're just gonna do a portion of it or if you're gonna do the whole thing.
Yep.
No, it says we have to commit to a contractor.
No,
So we can
no.
address this.
Basically, I tell them, this is what we're gonna do is this here amount, but keep this product available for me, and he would. And then we'll just, if we need it, whatever we wanna do in the fall, whether we think we need to shoot some up on Vandemark by the houses, we don't know yet, you know. If we tear up that road right away this summer, you know, let's say we tear it up in July, end of July, 1st of August, that product's gone. You're gonna have a complete dust road, so you're gonna wanna get something in there on that, so. And if you don't put it in May, end of May, first part of June, and you don't dig until the middle of July, you're gonna have some dusty roads through that portion of spring, summer, so.
I agree, I think we budget for a certain dollar amount, and,
I think that's the best thing.
and, yep, that way Public Works is able to keep an eye on it, and we're able to be flexible as to where and when we're gonna apply it, when that comes up.
So what did we budget initially?
21,000 is what we budgeted for make water alone.
If he wants to spend more than that, he has to get approval.
Yep, anything over
But you don't need to spend any more right now, you just need to.
Basically, yeah, for now, I mean, I'll just tell them to keep some available for us and make sure we do have something available for us. The biggest thing, I guess, for tonight is just to approve the contract for the dollar amount on it, which is $1.41, yeah. And then I'll just work out stuff with him and get it set up, and at that time, we'd make a decision later, or, you know, whatever you wanna do, so, or however you wanna handle it.
I think if we're gonna have him hold some aside, I think we should at least consider that to some degree tonight. You know, not budget for the normal amount, and then tell the contractor, hey, hold some aside for us, and we may or may not use it.
Well, and I think we need to assure the folks that live down there that we're gonna follow through on this. We don't want them to leave and think that we're not gonna.
So I'm gonna jump out there, I'll make a motion to approve an additional $5,300 of mag water on our current budget for future, applications in 2018.
Second. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Mitch, what do construction sites do to keep dust down?
They put water down, yeah,
Just
water
straight
truck,
water?
yeah, water trucks, and they just put it down on a daily basis if it gets really bad.
I thought there was product that like construction companies and mines use to keep dust down, that they mix with water and then apply.
They'll use chloride or magnesium with it is what they do, but like even on the Colton Road, that was just straight water coming right out of the rivers, river bottom. But they're watering, like in front of my place, they're watering 3 to 4 times in front of my place every day. Because it was drying that fast.
I thought there was something else out there. I'll just independent research.
Do we have a water truck?
We do. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so.
Don't they use a sugar beet product?
There's some that do it, a lot of it's availability and some that just depends on,
Because they use a lot of that up north.
yeah.
Sugar beet.
There's a lot of different products out there, just depends on availability and what's
Yeah.
best, I mean.
Alright, we got a motion and a second. Can we hear that motion again?
Yep, Keel moves to approve 5,300 of mag water on our current budget for future applications of mag water as needed in 2018. Brenneman second.
Alright,
Moves to approve additional, but how did you read that?
Oh, you want to say additional? Moves to approve additional?
Yeah,
An additional.
we don't want just 5,300.
Well,
Otherwise we won't be able to
That
buy
would
much.
make a little more sense.
Yeah, cause those,
Nope, no, an additional 5,300. Yep.
alright, any more discussion? Alright, Keel,
yes.
Horn,
Yeah.
Nelson,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes.
Good, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you.
Now, we got a regular mag water bid, That has not been approved.
Yeah, to lock in the price.
So I'll make a motion to approve the,
141. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Magwater
Megwater bid is presented.
as presented, 141 gallon.
And just to clarify, when
I need a
oops,
second.
yeah.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead.
When I type in, I just put Magwater. It's just, it's a common
What we
term
call
for it,
Kleenex.
you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But it's
I
actually,
know what you're saying.
it's actually tree sap, so that's what we're actually
Did you say it's like
putting down.
Kleenex?
Yeah.
It's
It's like these.
Yeah, it's like Kleenex.
Cause I, like I said, I looked at that the other day, I thought, yeah, I'm always typing
Q-tips.
Magwater for it, just what, general term for it, so.
So, that's how you know you won.
Okay, so we got the motion and a second. Your motion was to approve the bid at the 141 a gallon,
Yeah.
right? Does that do what you needed it to do, Craig? Teresa, you comfortable with that?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, any more discussion? Alright, Jones?
Yes.
Brennan? Yes. Keel?
Yes.
Ford?
Yeah.
And Mulch?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, and a mower.
Yeah, I got this price from Gillespie's, all of their three main mowers right now are all Hustlers. The one that we're looking at trading is the 72-inch rear discharge bagger. It was one of the first Hustler we bought, and I'm not even sure what year it is. It's gotta be 6 years old, 7 years old. The 72-inch Hustler, how old is that? Is it 5? I think it's more than that. But, anyway, we budgeted money to replace that mower this year, and, I talked to Gillespie about it, and for trade, he's given us $5,000 trade-in for ours, and, the new one's $12,390, so it'd be a difference of $7,399 for that. I didn't get other quotes because local, and that's kind of what we're gonna keep with is the Hustlers. So, there is other Hustler dealers out there, but
Keep it moving.
this is actually, there's government pricing on this, that's what we get, the pricing is government pricing, so it's actually government.
I make a motion to approve, the, trade, what's the word you wanna use here? Transaction with Gillespie? Help me out here.
I don't know, just
Yeah.
approve,
Help me out here. What's the
72-inch
word?
mower quote.
we have
Just the 72-inch mower quote.
Okay.
Just say Greg wants a new mower.
Yeah. I make a motion to approve the trade-in of the old Hustler for the purchase of a new one. The amount in question is $7,003, not to exceed, let's put it this way, $7,400. Could you stop that?
Perfect.
Second.
Alright, we got a second.
How come you not second?
I just needed a little help there. Oh, you wanted to call it, you wanted to call it.
You use the word hustler in a motion, you better second. I'm telling you.
Used it twice, too.
Well, there's two Hustlers in question.
Alright, any discussion on that?
Better not.
Nope. Alright.
We use that to apply any Magwater.
No.
Yeah, from now on, we call mowers hustlers,
Call them
and we call Magwater Magwater.
Keel?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Brenneman?
Yes.
And Jones?
You bet. You're
Alright.
lucky I didn't have you read it back.
Yep, we have one last item.
Oh, I'm not putting that
You
word
touched
in
on
there.
the dealer
Yeah,
bid. What do we got budgeted for that again?
162, I think it is.
Or was that doable?
Yeah,
Okay.
with the trade in it, yeah, more than doable, yeah.
The only reason I'm asking, how old is that unit?
That is a 2006.
And what's the life you're gonna plug in on this one?
What's what?
The life expectancy on this one then gonna be,
I would hope to get.
I know you don't care.
There's
It's gonna be, I'm sure.
See, here's something
Not
that
there, some years or whatever.
there's something that I've always, if the city would trade equipment in 5 years, you're gonna lose very little money on it because of the government pricing and what you can get back in a trade-in. It's a proven fact from other towns.
Right,
We've always kept our equipment until it's about done.
right.
So, I would like to see you guys, or the council, future council, to start looking at getting equipment updated every so often for it, where it still gets some good value into it, and you'll have very little money invested into it. If not, I would say at least 10 years ago.
The reason I'm asking, because I would like you to find out more, is I've been involved in some bids with the city of Sioux Falls, some landfill project
Mhm.
on the fire side, but I believe they do like a guaranteed buyback,
There is that out there, yeah.
trade-in type of
Yeah.
program. And I'm just curious, is that something we should look into if Sioux Falls is doing it? How long we want to hold our equipment and could we save some money in the long run?
There's a lot of that going on out there, and I've never had a council that wanted to proceed with that, so that's why I've never looked into it.
I second that.
So it's a guaranteed buyback.
I think so.
There's a lot of that going on with different cities and that, because they're guaranteed. Dealers love it because you're gonna keep you in their brand, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Does it feel similar to a lease that way? I mean, where you're,
Um,
so many years.
well, you wouldn't have to get rid of it, let's say your finances your budget didn't work out. I mean, you wouldn't get rid of it that year.
You just don't exercise that value,
Yeah.
and you just
Yep.
walk right past it.
So what is it put on the mark, like 3 years or 5 years, or what do they?
Usually they go about that 4 to 5 years, depending on what you got for warranty on them. So like
Okay.
this, what I'm looking at would be a 5-year warranty on it, so.
I'd be interested.
5 years, and then they would give you a guaranteed price, buy it back, trade you into a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you'd be surprised at the numbers. I mean, you could, years ago, instead of spending 100 to 150,000 a year on equipment, you could just about update every piece of equipment every year for under 100,000.
I'm not sure what Harrisburg's doing something similar.
A lot of towns are, and I can do some more checking.
Do we have time to find out on this
Well, yeah,
project?
yeah.
I'd like to know more.
I can definitely-
Everybody's good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be a good move for the city, I'll say that.
Snowgate on it?
Just,
Yep.
Oh, I was hoping we'd do a snow gate on something.
No, every time somebody says Snowgate.
Snowgate, we only have one maintainer, one works on a maintainer.
I mean,
in,
hey, I had the maintainer right next to me today, and he was dropping his snow gate.
in
Didn't do
eight
it.
years, I'll tell you all the information.
All right.
All right.
Anything else for Craig? Okay, we're gonna move on. Finance officer report, Sandra.
Hi, okay, so if you take a look at my report, I'm getting to it real quick. At the top, it just has kind of a synopsis of what we've got, thank you, of what we've taken in for February and some of the different or higher amounts. And then also, I have the cash totals for the end of January there. Just so you know, we've advertised for summer help. We have re-advertised for two of the positions, the dump site monitor and the assistant pool manager, because we do have applicants, but not enough. And so we're also still taking applications until the 23rd for the rest of our summer help. As you know, the election has been canceled, that all of the incumbents ran unopposed. So who you see is Brenneman, Horn, and Nelson will be serving another 2-year term with us. And then I've also included a calendar of events. Any questions?
What is the US Bank Mickelson Road expense?
It was an expense reimbursement, so that's the.
So the expense we had for Mickelson Road in 2017, mainly engineering expense that
yeah.
we've had, we've submitted them against our SRF loan,
Oh, I
and
see.
US Bank is the one who pays it through.
Got it,
So
got
it's reimbursement
Okay,
of our
yep.
expenses through our loan.
Through our loan, yeah.
In general, what do you think our Feb numbers are gonna look like? January's not very attractive.
Our what numbers? I'm
Our
sorry.
February numbers,
Our February numbers?
spitball it.
Well, I will say like the first, second, and third pennies were not high, and the reason again for that is because we're supposed to get about 2 payments, but the second payment hit March 2nd.
Sure.
So it looks bad, but it's not.
Okay.
So I will say that. So it's gonna look lower.
Will revenues exceed expenses, you think, after Feb?
I'm still working through some of March's expenses, so I'm not sure where we'll be sitting at that point. So I think you are going to be a little higher on the expenses, that's my guess.
Okay.
So, especially since you're not looking at those sales tax
Yeah,
dollars, so.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Another year gone by, you don't have to do an election, so.
I
Would that save the
know.
city about $1,000?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, Teresa, city administrator report.
Just a couple quick updates from me. I sent out an email earlier, but Deputy Ford, our officer in town during the day, she took another position. She's moving to the National Guard, a full-time position there. So the Sheriff's Department is advertising to fill that here. Talked with Captain Walsh, and hopefully maybe we'll have somebody in here next week possibly, if not the week thereafter. In the meantime, we have any issues, we call Metro, they'll send whatever deputies covering West Side, to address any of our concerns or issues here, so keep you updated on that. Security cameras, we will have them in tomorrow to start that process of putting our security cameras up and doing our panic buttons. They'll be here tomorrow and possibly Thursday, make sure we get that all installed, and then they'll do a little training session with us as far as to work the equipment and to be able to extract the data and whatnot. As I mentioned earlier, I have put another call into Roger Hugo, he hasn't returned it. I'll try to get something before the next 2 weeks so we can know where to go with this sewer. I'll start calling him every day if I have to, so at least know if we can
Where's
get
he
some
live?
easements for that.
Teresa, I got a question on Lennox.
I know he lives in Lennox, where in Lennox?
We talked about other options, alternative options, if he doesn't call us back first, whatever, I don't know the correct term.
Condemnation.
And maybe speaking out of turn here, but if we set meetings and notify him that we're gonna have meetings specific to that road project and he chooses not to attend, is that a good idea? Is that how we should drive this, or?
It might come down to that. I think at this point, I think he's still willing to talk, and like I said, my previous talk seems like he's open to it, but then it's not on his top priority list, so then he goes on
Right.
vacation, he puts other stuff, but
That's what I'm saying, but we better off saying, we're gonna have a meeting on March 20th, or whatever the date might be. We'd like you to be there, we're gonna have engineering there, whatever,
right, yeah.
put the ball in his court.
And I mean, we'll certainly can do that. With it, give me these next couple of weeks, since they're gonna be working on other projects, see if we can, move forward on that. And if we don't, maybe that's just the route we need to take, like you said. Just say, this one we're gonna talk about, if you want your input. You show up.
Just think of a subpoena.
I don't think we should call it that with you.
No, I'm just saying.
No, I understand, definitely.
He can just keep putting it off, putting it off, putting it off.
Sure, yeah,
That's
like
good
I said,
anyway.
it's not on
Not
his
picking on him at all. I'm
priority
just saying,
list, but, yeah.
I don't wanna see us go down the same road.
No, definitely something to look at,
Yeah,
so I think we should consider that at some point here. Craig had mentioned, we did meet with Matt about the sports complex. I think we are pretty good on what they want for electrical and, water out there, and Craig's working to put those numbers together. We also did talk about that position, possible position that we budgeted for, as far as what they could possibly do, threw out some thoughts. Basically, I think it kind of boiled down to this. We need to coordinate with the school and maybe the baseball association, the soccer association, get their input of how they want to utilize this purse or whatnot. So we're gonna do a little more checking with those organizations. I did talk with Brad Behrens today, actually. I sent an email out to him and I met with him today, and he says it sounds like a good idea. He's glad we're gonna implement something like this. He's not sure how they can utilize it with the school, but he's gonna talk with Craig Boyens and Sarah Yost at the school and kind of put their heads together to see if they can utilize it. So, well, get input from them, like I said, work with the other organizations and keep trying to move forward. We even come up with an idea of maybe a couple of the colleges, maybe, some of them have this kind of program you could take, maybe get an intern for this summer and having them research as far as what we need and what can be done and kind of put a plan for us. So we're thinking maybe kind of try and check into that too.
Do you think this person could take over, you directly have the pool, pool manager reporting to you, could this?
And that was brought up too, our little park rec program with the
Yeah.
crafts pool manager, maybe they could do something with that.
Yeah.
I don't see it this year getting in place to do it, but,
Right.
like Matt says, I think, maybe in the beginning, it could, do certain things that maybe not, could be more of a part-time position, and definitely work into something, that'd be all-encompassing, something like that.
The school is facing, or looking at an opt-out, I don't know how much money they spend on community ed. But that'd be a conversation to pursue,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, Brad said he'll be talking with Sarios and Craig
Yeah.
and seeing. But, so we'll keep working on that and, hopefully come up with something here in the next few months to bring to you guys. And the employee manual committee, review committee met. We had a first meeting, went through most of the manual, just kind of touch base on. We're gonna meet 2 or 3 more times, kind of discuss, everything in there, and then come back to you guys with the recommendation with any changes. So we'll continue to work on that. And then just a little note, me and Craig both try to gather some information on what other cities do as far as their policy on the maintenance of boulevard trees. He contacted the street association, and I contacted area city administrators. We've just got a few responses back, so we'll keep trying to gather some more information. We don't have a whole lot of information out. Sounds like a lot of towns are kind of just like us, maybe, just kind of winging it. They'll maybe trim a little bit, but don't really have a policy in place. So we'll try to gather some more information and come back to you something with that too. So, any questions? Okay.
All right, thank you, Teresa.
Okay.
All right, move on to old business, funding options for the sports complex grading project. So, this was a piece of discussion from the last meeting, and, we talked about that, roughly that $500,000 mark. Where's that gonna come from, how are we gonna fund it? Teresa's got a lot of good input on this, so I'll let you take it from there.
So, yeah, now that we've decided to move forward with this sports complex grading project, this wasn't in our 2018 budget, we added it later, so, that money, that $527,000 has gotta come out of somewhere. This first sheet of paper I had in your packet, basically it says fund balances on it. The top portion I gave to you guys at budget time, and basically the highlighted amount shows where I figured each one of our funds would end up with our anticipated revenue this year and our anticipated expenses this year. So as you can see, the general fund, I figured at the end of 2018, like I said, if we get the revenue we anticipate and pay out what we anticipate in expenses, we should be at about $1 million. Below that, a highlighted area is things we've added to the budget so far this year to 2018. So if you include that grading with it, that $527,000, if we take that out of our general fund, basically that'll bring our general fund at the end of 2018, as it sits now, with just under $500,000, about $428,000 in there. So, we have the money in there, we can take it out of the general fund. Basically the question to you guys, do you want to do that? Do you want to spend down our reserves to that amount? Or do you want us to look in some kind of bank loan, some kind of financing? And with that, you've got to consider, if we loan it, you're paying interest on that money then too. Plus, it's also adding to our debt limit, and the next sheet of paper shows you where we're sitting with the debt schedule. Our debt schedule right now, we are basically, we are allowed up to 5% debt, and that goes off our assessments for the city. So right now, we're sitting at about 15% debt limit, which is very low, which is very good. But once we get done with Mickelson Road and we add that debt into it, we're gonna be at about 41% of our debt limit. So we're using up almost half capacity. And the more debt you add, of course, that brings that number up.
When do you anticipate like, and maybe this is a Mitch question too, when do we anticipate basically writing the check for that, for the big portion of that grading project? When do you think that'll hit?
For the sports complex?
Yeah.
I mean, we write the check monthly, usually the contractor, so I would say by the end of August or September-ish is probably what we'll have a completion date on, so that's probably when you'll be making final payment to them.
Sure, so you may be looking at, you know, it's 100,000 here, it's, you know, 75,000 there, all the way through the summer, more or less, with it wrapping up in August or something.
Yeah, I mean, once they start, it's probably only a 2-month project when they actually start. But yeah, I'd say towards the beginning of September is probably when we'll be, probably towards the end of September is when final payment would probably be due.
Okay.
So, can I ask a question there?
Yeah.
Teresa, Travis and I had, full disclosure, we talked about this at length this afternoon. So I see that we bonded for the sports complex in 2013, $789,000. That was to buy the land, is that correct? Or to buy the land and do the
That was to do the first part of the grading and the seeding in 2013, because we bought the land in 08?
2011.
11, yeah, a couple years before
Okay,
that, yeah.
So we didn't borrow any money to buy the land, or did we? Is that in here somewhere that I'm missing it?
We had some money in reserves to buy the land. We took a portion out of the general fund, a portion out of sports complex fund that we had kind of been putting away.
Okay, so we didn't bond any money to buy the land. The 789 was for the first phase, so to speak.
And it was, so we took some from our savings, but we did bond some to buy the land, yeah.
That's in this.
And that's figured in that yes, that's figured in that amount, because we took money, we rolled that loan, that balance of what we loaned for the land, we put that into the grading, we rolled it all into one loan, so that is all included.
That's in there.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a thought I'll throw out to the fellow councilman and the mayor. We would like to see this thing get finished. We're on a path now, we think, to get this thing finished. Are we at a point where we should probably bond that much again, or maybe $1 million, and have the funds do this grading and then have $500,000 for them to do the next fields or whatever it may be to get this thing done?
See, I guess where I like where you're going with it, and I guess where my gut is on it is if we can afford in our general fund throughout this summer to spend on this first project, so we won't be able to do anything else till we get this grading done, right? So we gotta get this grading done, we gotta get some things leveled out, we gotta kinda know where things are gonna be. At that point, we're getting awfully close to our budgeting time already, end of August, early September for 2019. And I think by that point, with this new sports complex committee moving forward, meeting with Teresa